Today's session will run exactly from 9 o'clock to 10:30 a.m. To save on time, kindly use the chat box for your question and we will entertain this at the end of the webinar. Before we proceed to today's session, our speaker for today is Dr. Gerald Villela. Dr. Gerald is the Division Vice President and the Division Head of Unilab Medical Affairs, National Cardiologist at Philippine Heart Center. He finished his medical school in University of Santo Tomas and his residency in Philippine General Hospital, University of the Philippines. Without further delay, I now give the floor to Doc G. Good morning, Doc.
Hi, Donna. Magandang umaga sa iyo.
Magandang umaga po.
Magandang umaga at magandang umaga sa lahat ng aking mga kaibigan at mga kapatid dito sa grupong Tamang Alaga. I hope I got that right. Thank you for the invitation, and it is my pleasure and honor to discuss with you something I love the most, which is puso, no? Heart health. And this is my advocacy, public health, specifically on health of the heart. No? So I'm very happy to be sharing some important information on heart health. No? Especially that this month, February, is buwan ng mga puso, ika nga. No? So maraming salamat sa inyo. Of course, before I proceed, I'd like to thank grupong Tamang Alaga Academy. Wow, very good. Napakagandang programa ito para sa ating mga ka-teammates sa GTA. And I'd like to thank also Dr. Nancy Bermal for the invitation na hindi naman po ako makakahindi kahit busy-busy. Ang aming mga pusod, I would say, ay magkadugtong na. And of course, nandito ang aking mentor, Dr. Percy Punzal. So maraming salamat sa inyong imbitasyon. First of all, I'd like to congratulate everyone. So let me share my screen. No? I'd like to congratulate everyone for being present dito sa ating webinar na ito. No? Congratulate because being healthy is a mindset. At yung inyong pagpayag na umattend dito sa webinar na ito ay again umpisa lamang, first step sa inyong pagpayag na magkaroon ng malusog na puso. So maraming salamat sa inyo at congratulations sa pag-attend dito sa session natin ito. All right, let me go through you some important information regarding heart health. So sabi ko nga doon sa aking titulo, take heart, know your numbers. Kasi napaka-importante pong alamin natin ang ating mga numero. Hindi po numero ng ating mga cellphone o telepono, pero numero po ng mga mahalagang risk factors para sa sakit sa puso. Okay, Ms. Donna, I prepared some survey para malaman ko lang yung engagement ng ating mga nag-attend ng webinar na ito. Ms. Donna, naka-post na po ba yung ating link to answer the first survey question?
Yes, Doc. Senior ba po ni Ms. Lovelyn? Yes.
Okay, thank you, Lovelyn. So the first question is, true or false lamang? Wala po itong tamang sagot. Gusto ko lang pong malaman dito sa GTA kung gaano po karami ang may problema sa sakit sa puso or nagkaroon ng stroke. So ang question number 1 is, I or someone from my immediate family had heart attack or stroke. So A, true, B, false. Miss Donna, I hope you can help me with kung marami na pong sumagot. Let's time siguro 1 minute. Yan, sagot lang po kayo. Gusto ko lang po malaman kung gaano karami po ang merong problema or mga kapamilya na merong sakit sa puso or nag-atake sa utak. Miss Donna, may mga sumasagot ba?
Yes, Doc. Actually, 60% nasa true, 40% po false.
Okay, so sige, let's give them 30 more seconds to complete the 1 minute. So
actually,
60%.
Madami, Doc.
Madami, okay. So pwede na nating ihinto siguro kung madami na. Sige, let's stop it. Okay, so Miss Donna, ilan ang true at ilan ang false?
25 po yung nag-respond based na sa kanina. And then 60% of which is true.
Okay. So, medyo marami-rami na po pala talaga sa atin, no? Sa atin or sa ating mga kapamilya ang nagkaroon ng heart attack or nagkaroon ng stroke, no? And that is not very good. Now, let me share with you this article, recent article last year coming from the Global Burden of Cardiovascular Diseases and Risk Factors. Ang gusto ko lang pong sabihin sa inyo na ang sakit sa puso, no? Sakit sa puso ay hindi lamang common sa Pilipinas kundi sa buong mundo. In fact, the article said that from 1990, from 271 million na dami ng mga taong may sakit sa puso sa buong mundo, noong 2019 ay dumoble po ito to 523 million noong 2019. At hindi lamang yon, pati po ang cardiovascular deaths o pagkamatay dahil sa sakit sa puso increased from 12.1 million in 1990 to almost 19 million in 2019. So really, it's a burden. It's a global burden. So it's hindi lang siya problema sa ating bansa. Now, itong slide na to, I know it's a busy slide. I just want to tell you that there are different causes of cardiovascular disease. But for this morning's purpose, I will just be discussing on atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease o yung may mga problema sa atake sa puso o heart attack. If you notice in this slide, ischemic heart disease account for almost 50%. Yan po yung dyan po pumapatak ang mga sakit o atake sa puso. No? At pumapangalawa, if you notice yung ischemic stroke at 17.7%, in intracerebral hemorrhage, ito pong dalawang ito, ischemic stroke and intracerebral hemorrhage, if you combine that's the stroke already or atake sa utak. So it's mahina ako sa math, it's more than almost 35%, no, of the entire deaths in the whole world in 2019 is because of the stroke. And this is followed by hypertensive heart disease at 6%. So yun po yung pinaka-common na sakit sa puso sa buong mundo. Now let's bring this closer to home sa Pilipinas. Noong pong 2019, ang ischemic heart disease or atake sa puso and stroke are the top 2 common causes of death, no, in the Philippines. However, this is really bothersome because 10 years ago, 2009, siya pa rin po ang top 1 and 2 as the most common causes of deaths, no, in the Philippines. So hindi po nagbago sa loob ng 10 taon. So napakarami pa po nating dapat gawin. And if you notice, there are risk factors o mga sanhing panganib na pwedeng magdulot po ng sakit sa puso. Ito po yung chronic kidney disease na umakyat po for after 10 years from number 6 to number 4. Diabetes, umakyat din po from number 7 to number 6. Hypertensive heart disease from number 9 to number 8. So this is very, very bothersome. Nakakagambala po ito dahil mukhang hindi po nag-i-improve ang ating kalagayan sa pagkakaroon ng sakit sa puso. Now, regarding naman the data, what causes the most death and disability combined? No? So ischemic heart disease and stroke ranked number 1 and 3 in 2019. No? So again, this is still similar to the 2009 data. So wala pong pagbabago. So ang diabetes ay number 7, okay? Ang chronic kidney disease ay number 5. So napaka-importanting bagay at dapat tayong may gawin dito. Okay? Kasi ang heart attack ay hindi lamang po or even stroke ay hindi lamang po sakit ng matatanda tulad ng alam natin before, but it can also be a disease of the younger age group. In fact, in my practice in Heart Center, the youngest I have had as a patient is about 30 years old na angioplasty at na heart attack. No? So pabata po ng pabata ang pagkakaroon ng sakit sa puso. Bakit po ba ganun? Well, I guess it's because of the lifestyle. No? Yung urbanization, kung gaano medyo maayos na po ang ating pamumuhay, no? Yung may mga sasakyan tayo, hindi na tayo nakakapaglakad, hindi na tayo nakakabisikleta, tapos may mga fast food. So these are the most common causes of heart attack and stroke. Kaya lamang, ating pong pagkatandaan na ang heart disease, heart attack and stroke ay is just the tip of the iceberg. Meron pa pong mas malalim na problema na kailangan nating i-address. When you have heart attack or stroke, that's the end already, no? Meron ng end organ damage kung tawagin namin. Meron pa pong mas importanteng mga bagay na dapat nating pagtuunan ng pansin at ito po yung sinasabi kong unrecognized risk factor burden. No? Ano po ba yung risk factor? Risk factor in Tagalog ay sanhing panganib. Ito po yung mga sakit o mga karakteristik na meron po tayo na pwede po magdulot ng pagkakaroon ng heart attack and stroke. So ito yung hypertension, mataas na cholesterol, diabetes, pagiging mabigat, paninigarilyo, unhealthy diet, even psychological factors. No, I know most of us, no, right now are experiencing this, no, psychological factors. Stress sa trabaho, stress sa buhay, no. Especially some of us are working from home, which adds more stress also in our work. Sedentary lifestyle. Most of us, especially mga office work, di ba? Nandun lang tayo sa table natin, nakaharap sa computer. No, wala tayong gaanong ehersisyo. Pollution is also a cause, no? Air pollution, noise pollution have been proven to be as cause of heart attack and stroke as well. Alcohol use, this can also be cause of heart attack and stroke. Now, ito pong unang mga nabanggit ko ay tinatawag na modifiable risk factors o masanhing panganib na pwede nating baguhin sapagkat kaya natin, may paraan. However, yung mga susunod na mga sanhing panganib tulad ng edad, no? Sabi ko nga, habang umiidad tayo, mas tumataas ang risk natin sa pagkakaroon ng heart attack and stroke. Gender. Ang pagiging lalaki po, mas lantad po tayo sa pagkakaroon ng heart attack and stroke. However, ay yung mga kababaihan, once nag-menopause na po sila, so that's around 49 to 51 years old, ang chance po nilang magkaroon ng heart attack is equal to that of their male counterpart. That's why age also plays a role because nawawala na rin po kasi ang protection ng kanilang mga hormones while they are menstruating. Family history is also a non-modifiable cause. Hindi mo naman pwedeng palitan ng iyong dugo, no? Palitan ng iyong genes, no? It's inherent in us. Pero hindi naman po ibig sabihin na kapag ang inyong mga magulang o mga kapatid ay merong sakit sa puso, automatiko kayo magkakaroon din. Now, meron pong tinatawag na cardiovascular disease burden attributable to modifiable risk factors. Ibig sabihin, ano po ba yung pinaka-common na risk factors na pwedeng mag-cause ng heart attack? So ito po yung rank, no? High blood pressure, dietary, high LDL cholesterol, okay? Ang i-mention ko lang po dito yung mga risk factors. So cardiovascular risk factors, metabolic, So high body mass index, ito yung mga obesity, diabetes, kidney dysfunction. So, yan po ang pinaka-common na cause ng heart attack and stroke. Meron pong pag-aaral, this is 2004, and I'm happy to say that I was part of this study, Interheart study. Dito po, mini-measure po yung mga sanhing panganib or risk factors na siya pinaka-common na mag-cause ng first myocardial infarction. Myocardial infarction is the medical term for heart attack. So if you notice, if you have all the 9 risk factors, you have 90% chance of having heart attack. If you have high cholesterol level, you have 50% chance of having heart attack. Stress, 33% chance of having heart attack. Yung pong nakita nyo dito, fruits and vegetable, ibig sabihin mo yan, not eating fruits and vegetables po. At yung exercise, not exercising, yung pong ibig sabihin nun. So if you're not eating fruits and vegetables, you are likely to have first heart attack, 14%. No? And not exercising will cause 12% of the heart attack. And paninigarilyo is 36% of your first heart attack. So these are the different risks pwede natin pong baguhin. So ang pagbabago nga, ay nasa ating mga kamay para maiwasan natin ang first heart attack. Okay, pero ngayon pong, it started last year or late 2019, yung COVID-19, no? COVID-19 adds up to the burden of cardiovascular disease. In fact, cardiologists calls this as the twin epidemics of COVID-19 and cardiovascular disease. Sorry, hindi ko po mahihiwalay ang COVID-19 sa pagkakaroon ng sakit sa puso because they are very much interrelated with each other. So it's twin epidemics or double burden. So bakit po ba may ganon? Dahil po yung COVID-19 disrupted the provision of essential public health services, including for people living with non-communicable diseases. So nawala yung mga clinic, nawala yung mga regular check-up. So hindi po na monitor yung ating mga pasyente. And people living with cardiovascular diseases are at higher risk of severe complications and death from COVID-19. About 40% of hospitalized patients have cardiovascular disease. Okay? So napaka-importante nun. In the clinical course of COVID-19 is more severe in patients with hypertension, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Ang mortality from COVID-19 increases with the number of comorbidities we have at ang edad po ng isang individual. Magkakakonect po ito at hindi natin maihiwalay. Kaya importante, kahit po may COVID-19, pansinin din po natin ang ating kalusugan sa puso kasi napaka-importante po nito. I hope I'm not going too fast. Okay, Miss Donna, tell me kung masyado akong napapabilis. Let me discuss with you two end organ damage. Yung sabi ko nga, ito na yung pinakahuli, no, after controlling the risk factors. First is heart attack. Heart attack, yan po yung sa Tagalog, sa layman's term is atake sa puso. Paano po ba ito nangyayari? Kapag nababarahan po yung ng blood clot or ng cholesterol plaque, yung isang arterya o isang ugat sa puso. Pag nabarahan po kasi ang isang ugat sa puso, hihina po ang daloy ng dugo dun sa muscle ng puso. Remember, our heart is a hollow organ, hollow muscular organ. Ang function po ng heart is to pump blood, no? So ang kinakain po, quote-unquote, kinakain ng ating heart muscle is oxygen at ang oxygen ay nasa dugo. So kung may bara po yung ugat ng puso, hindi po makadadaloy ang dugo dun sa muscle ng puso, so magwi-weaken po yung heart muscle natin. At eventually, totally mababarahan po yun at pwede pong mauwi sa pagkamatay ng heart muscle. Yung po ang tinatawag na heart attack. While for stroke, very similar po yung pathophysiology. Ang stroke kasi may dalawang causes. One is yung sabi ko nga, plaque, no? Similar with the heart attack. May nabarahang ugat doon sa isang parte ng brain. And remember, oxygen is very, very important for the brain. No? 4 minutes lang without oxygen, malaking complication na po sa nervous system ang mangyayari. The other one naman is yung rupture o yung pumutok na ugat sa utak. This is very common among hypertensive heart disease. No? So, dalawang klase po ang stroke. Blockage or infarct or rupture or hemorrhagic stroke. What are the warning signs of heart attack? This is very important kasi kanina and 2 cases already of heart attack occurring in Unilab. So, ano po ba yung warning signs? Chest pain or discomfort. Chest pain ang hindi siya kirot, it's more of heaviness. Parang may mabigat na nakadagan sa dibdib. Alright? Yun po ang description, no? And yung picture na nakikita natin sa baba, that's the universal picture of someone having a heart attack, no? Grasp yung hand nila over the chest, no? Pain or discomfort in the jaw or numbness sa panga, sa neck, or sa likod. Usually, pamamanhid. Feeling weak, lightheaded, or faint. Pain or discomfort in the arms or the shoulders. Most specifically on the left arm. So, pamamanhid po. Kasabay ng paninikip sa dibdib. And of course, shortness of breath. No? Yung po yung mga warning signs of heart attack. What about stroke? Ang stroke, importante rin natin malaman, no? Both heart attack and stroke, it's important to recognize early para mabigyan natin ng lunas kaagad-agad. So sudden severe headache, sobrang sakit ng ulo. Trouble seeing in one or both eyes, no? Pwedeng blindness or doubling of vision. Sudden dizziness or trouble walking, hindi sila makalakad ng pantay at hilong-hilong. Sudden confusion, no? Hindi nila alam nasan ba ako. Hindi nila minsan nalalaman kung anong pangalan nila. Hindi rin nila ma-recognize kung sino yung kumakausap sa kanila. Trouble speaking or slurred speech na uutal. Or sudden numbness or weakness of face, 1/4 of the face usually, and half of the arm and the leg. No? So those are the most common common warning signs of stroke. So when you talk about stroke, remember the acronym FAST, no? FAST, F-A-S-T. F is face. So pangitiin niyo yung tao na you're suspecting na baka nag-heart attack. Now, pagka ngiwi yung kanilang smile, that could be a sign of stroke. Arm, A for arm. Ask the person to raise both arms. Pag hindi po nila makayang pagpantayin yung kanilang arms, yung isa natataas nila pero yung isa nalalaglag, baka po stroke yun. And S for speech. Ask the person to speak a simple sentence like yung address niya, yung pangalan niya. Kung nauutal po siya, that means he might be having a stroke already. And T is time. It is very important that we call for help immediately para maibsan natin yung pagbabara doon sa utak. So I hope I was able to share with you what are the warning signs for heart attack and stroke. Okay, now, sorry po if you're asking questions, I can't see, I only see my slides. So I hope Ms. Donna and Ms. Loveline can help me, but I guess the Q&A will be after the lecture. Okay, so let's go now to the risk factor. Yes, Ms. Donna.
Yes, good morning. Before we proceed, I would like to acknowledge first the presence of our president, Attorney Joey Achave. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Please. Hi, Doc Gerald. Thank you very much. So continue, please. Continue. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Joey, for the invite. Okay, so let's now talk about the first risk factor, which is very important. So hypertension. So may konting pa-survey ulit ako para malaman ko lang kung alam nyo talaga kung ano yung, remember our topic is know your numbers. Okay? Para malaman nyo. So the second survey question, again, Ms. Loveline, Ms. help me with the survey. The second question is, what is the normal blood? A, less than 120 over 80. B, 120 over 80. C, 130 over 80. And D, 140 over 90. Ms. Donna, Ms. Loveline, can you help me on this, please?
Yes po. Please use po the Google form, yung link po to answer the question. Thank you.
Yan. Ano po ba sa inyo ang palagay ang normal na blood pressure? Alam ko siguro bawat isa sa atin ay may kanya-kanyang definition ng normal blood pressure. But unfortunately, there is really a definition for that. So what is this? May mga sumagot na ba?
May mga sumagot, Doc. Guys, pakigamit yung link, please, para at least ma-identify namin yung percentage ng sagot. Thank you.
Alright. So siguro, Ms. Donna, I'd like to know, anong sagot ng ating mga kapatid sa GTA? May sumagot ba?
Yes, Doc. Madami ang B.
B. Okay.
Opo.
So malalaman natin mamaya. Anong sumunod?
May mga A, pero mas A ang next.
Okay. Okay. Sige. Malalaman natin kung anong normal blood pressure. First, ano po ba ang blood pressure? Ang blood pressure po, ito po yung presyon or pressure inside our blood vessels, especially dun sa ating arteries na tinatawag, no? It is a measure of how easy or difficult it is for the blood to be pumped by your heart through the entire body. Remember, sabi ko kanina, ang function po ng puso ay to pump blood sa buong katawan para mabigyan po ng oxygen o oksihena in Tagalog ang buong katawan natin. So it's a measure of how easy or difficult it is to pump blood, no, out of the heart. Now, ang puso natin, nagko-contract siya, 'di ba? Well, siguro sa ating nung high school or nung ating college, 'di ba, lub-dub, no? Yun yung heart sound. Yung first heart sound, yung po yung pag-contract or pag-pump ng muscle. Pag-pump po ng muscle, may lumalabas pong dugo, no? Nagpa-pump siya ng blood, and that generates pressure inside the artery, and that is your systolic blood pressure. And yung dub, pag nag-relax po yung puso, that will lessen the pressure, and that reflects the pressure now inside the heart. And that is the diastolic blood pressure. Yung po yung nasa ilalim. Remember, our blood pressure has two numbers. One on top, systolic, and the one below, diastolic blood pressure. So yung po yung dalawang numbers na kailangan nating pansinin. So this is also a measure of how flexible or how healthy the blood vessel is para po itong lastiko o rubber band, no? Ganun po dapat ka-flexible, no? Expand and contract ang blood vessel natin. Pag masyado ng hindi na siya ma-expand o hindi na siya mag-flex, no? Ang blood pressure natin tataas. So it's a measure also of the flexibility or elasticity, I think that's a proper term, of our blood vessels. Okay, ito po yung tamang sagot. Ang maraming sumagot daw ay letter B, which is 120/80. Mali po. Ngayon po, mas mababa na po ang threshold natin for a normal blood pressure, and that is less than 120 systolic and a diastolic pressure of less than 80 millimeters mercury. So kapag pumapatak po ang BP nyo ng 120/80, nandun na po siya sa second row, which is the elevated blood pressure. Before we call this pre-hypertension. So medyo dapat nag-worry na rin po tayo dyan, no? Pero pag elevated blood pressure, usually ang management is lifestyle modification muna. Pag tumapak ka na ng 130, so kung may mga sumagot dyan ng 130, mali din po inyong sagot kasi 130 to 139 or a diastolic of 80 to 89 will now label you as hypertensive, stage 1 hypertension. Pero pag more than or equal to 140 systolic or more than or equal to 90 diastolic, you are now stage 2 hypertension. Importante po, bakit may stage 1 and stage 2? Kasi sa stage 1, aside from lifestyle modification, you need to be on medication, usually single medication. Like for example, Losarite, right med-amlodipine, okay? Pag stage 2, it's usually a combination of medications already. So yun po yung importante. So, first number that you should remember, normal blood pressure is less than 120/80. Pakitandaan po ninyo. What are the consequences? Ano naman ngayon kung mataas ang blood pressure ko? So sabi ko nga, ito ay common na sanhi ng pagkakos ng stroke, vision loss, pagkabulag, dahil nababarhan nila yung ugat sa mata. Heart failure, yung hindi na makapump yung ating puso. Heart attack, kasi nababarahan po yung ugat ng puso niya. Kidney disease or chronic kidney disease or kidney failure. No? Nabubugbog ang ating bato dahil sa mataas na presyon. And sa mga kalalakihan, unfortunately, sexual dysfunction. So of course, sa mga kalalakihan sa atin dyan, ayaw naman natin magkaroon ng ganyan. So kailangan nating makontrol natin ang blood pressure. Usually, nowadays, we advise our patients to take their blood pressure at home to monitor. So it depends kung gaano kadalas, depende kung ikaw naman ay hindi high blood, hindi naman kailangang araw-araw. Kung ikaw ay hypertensive, depende rin kung controlled or hindi na controlled. So depends on your doctors. That's the first risk factors, which is hypertension. And the first number is less than 120/80. So dapat lahat po alam na natin kung anong normal na blood pressure. Number 2 risk factor, which is the most, one of the top 2 common risk factors for cardiovascular disease, is diabetes mellitus or mataas na level ng asukal sa ating katawan. Okay, third survey question. Miss Lovelyn, Miss Donna, patulong po ulit. Ano po ba ang normal fasting blood sugar o FBS? What is the normal FBS? A, 126, B, 115, C, less than or equal to 100, or D, 40 milligrams? I just want to get the engagement of the audience.
Please use the link po na sinend ni Lovely sa chat box. Thank you.
Sagot kayo, huwag kayong mahiya. Gusto ko lang malaman kung talagang alam niyo kung anong tamang numerong tatandaan natin. Malu, Miss Malu Garganera, I hope you can answer this correctly. So 1 minute na, Miss Donna. Oh, ano ang sagot ng mas nakararami?
Letter C, Doc, 100.
Very good. Okay.
Yes.
Wow, tama. Ay, salamat. Tumama din ang GPA. Tama,
Doc
okay?
G,
Ang
Doc
normal
G, sorry ah.
Yes.
Yun ang sagot, pero
Yeah,
sa
go
totoo
ahead.
lang, we deny that we know the answer.
Of course, I know Miss Malu. Okay. So that is the normal fasting blood sugar. Nung estudyante po kami ni Nancy, parang ang normal nun, parang nasa 110 o 120 pa nga eh. Huwag na natin sabihin kung gaano katagal yun. But right now, pababa siya ng pababa. It's less than or equal to 100. So ano po ba ang diabetes? Ang diabetes, in Tagalog, diabetes ang English. Ito po ay kondisyon na nagkukos po ng pagtaas ng asukal sa ating dugo to dangerous levels. No? Dahil po ito sa dalawang dahilan. One is because napaka-importante dito yung tinatawag nating insulin. No? Insulin po ay hormone na pinuproduce ng ating katawan, specifically the pancreas. Yung insulin po, remember, yung sugar or in medical term glucose is needed by the cells for energy para makapagtrabaho, especially the skeletal muscles o yung mga muscles natin sa, let's say, sa arms. No? So, yung insulin is susi po para mabuksan po yung pintuan ng cells para pumasok po yung asukal o yung glucose sa cell. Pero there are cases po na tinatawag na insulin resistance o yung susi na insulin hindi tama dun sa susian mismo. So hindi makapasok yung glucose or yung sugar sa dugo, sa cell. So nangyari, tumataas po ang glucose sa dugo natin. Or may ibang cases naman, ito yung common sa mga bata-bata, no? Tulad ni Gary Valenciano. Ito yung type 1 diabetes mellitus. Wala naman siyang insulin or mababa yung insulin na sinisikret niya. Kaya hindi makapasok yung glucose or yung sugar sa cell. So yun po yung dahilan kung bakit kung bakit nagkakaroon ng diabetes. So napaka-importante po ng insulin. At pag may diabetes po tayo, again, it can cause damage to your heart and other body parts. So it can clog your arteries or even yung heart muscle. Pinapahina po niya yung pumping function ng heart muscle. Tulad ng ating nabanggit kanina, ang tandaan nyo lang po yun, nasa first row, yung fasting FPG, fasting plasma glucose, ibig sabihin yan, or fasting blood sugar. So, mali pa pala ang nilagay ko. Ang normal pala, less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. So, dapat mababa sa 100 milligrams per deciliter. Okay? Pre-diabetes ka, pag tumapak na sa 100 to 125, at pag more than or equal to 126, pwede ka ng may diabetes mellitus. Pero huwag kayong mag-alala, hindi naman po ito isang beses lang nakuha. Pag mataas, meron huyang i-recheck ulit. So hindi po one time lang ito. The other one, sinhighlight ko po in red, yung nasa last row, is yung glycosylated hemoglobin or HbA1c. Ang cutoff natin is 5.7%, less than. Pero this is used for monitoring. So just remember the fasting plasma glucose. Okay, the second number you should remember, know your number. What is a normal fasting blood sugar? Less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. Right? Warning signs of diabetes. Ihi ng ihi, mayat maya, ihi ng madami. Hindi siya yung sa Tagalog o pag may UTI ka na masakit, umihi na konti-konti. Ito, maraming ihi at malinit. So frequent urination. Second, unexplained weight loss. No? Increased thirst dahil sa nataas ng asukal sa ating katawan, feeling natin lagi tayong uhaw. So inom tayo ng tubig. Excessive fatigue, napapagod tayo, no? Remember, sabi ko, yung glucose or sugar kailangan ng cell for energy. So kung hindi makapasok yung sugar or glucose sa cell, nakakaramdam tayo ng pagod. The other way, yung iba, pumapayat, yung iba naman nag-weight gain. Okay? Yung iba naman, humihina yung paghilom ng sugat o slow healing. Iba tulog ng tulog at yung iba blurred vision. No? So these are the warning signs of diabetes. So, ano po ba ang effects ng diabetes on the body? So mention ko kanina, stroke, heart damage or heart attack, eye disease. Okay, not to scare those who have diabetes. Diabetes is the #1 cause of acquired blindness in the Philippines. Diabetes is the #1 cause of dialysis in the Philippines. At number 3, diabetes is the #1 cause of non-accidental amputation in the Philippines. So ganun po kasama ang diabetes. So marami pong pwedeng komplikasyon na hindi natin gusto. Remember, diabetes, similar with hypertension, affects the productive age group. No? So imagine if you lost your vision, if you have nagda-dialyze ka na at your early age of 40 or 30, kawawa. Okay? So we should remember that we need to control our blood sugar to less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. Okay, busy slide. Ang message ko lang po dito, habang tumatagal na uncontrolled yung diabetes, mas dumadami po yung komplikasyon. Okay? Hanggang mauwi sa death. Okay, yun lang po yung message ko. So in short, the earlier that we diagnose diabetes, the better. Kasi malalapatan natin ng tamang gamot. That's the second risk factor, diabetes. If you notice, wala akong masyadong dinidiscuss about management kasi pare-pareho lang naman ang management with the risk factors. I will discuss that later. Okay. Third risk factor, high cholesterol or dyslipidemia. So allow me some added time to discuss this because I know sa GTA may umiikot na post recently and I've sent my feedback to Doc Percy about this. So I hope hindi lang tayo ma-mislead nung mga messages na yon. Fourth survey question. Ms. Loveline, Ms. Donna, kindly provide the link. Alin po ba dito, A, B, C, and D, ang tinaguri ang bad cholesterol? Is it total, HDL, LDL, or triglyceride? So your time starts now. Sana po sumagot kayo. Again, gusto ko lang malaman kung alam ng karamihan ano ba ang bad cholesterol.
Please use po the link sa my chat box. Thank you.
Buti na lang, engage ang GTA.
26 na Doc nag-answer ng C.
Okay, C. So let's stop. So very good. The bad cholesterol is LDL cholesterol. Very good. So alam ng lahat. So feeling ko lahat kayo or in some point nakapag-consulta na sa akin. Now to remember what is the bad cholesterol? LDL. Tandaan nyo lang yung LDL. Lechon de leche. Okay? So pag may LDL cholesterol, tandaan nyo lechon de leche. Yung po yung bad cholesterol. No? Yung po yung lagi ko sinasabi sa mga pasyente. So very good GTA. Okay, what is cholesterol? Okay, cholesterol is a nutrient. It is a macronutrient. So as a nutrient, importante po siya sa katawan natin. Hindi pa siya totally masama sa katawan natin, no? It is defined as a waxy substance. So medyo semi-solid, no, substance na dumadali sa ating dugo. Pero necessary siya unang-una na to provide energy. Di ba? There are three macronutrients: carbohydrate, fats, and proteins. Carbohydrate is the best one to provide energy. The second is fats, no? Kaya lang ang energy na po-provide nila is acute lang. Brisk, sudden, pero hindi siya masusustain, no? So importante siya. And it insulates the nerves, okay? It helps build new cells, produce hormones. So ulitin ko, cholesterol is not at all bad. In fact, it is essential. Napaka-importante siya. Even sa pag-absorb ng vitamins, sa fat-soluble vitamins. Protect your heart, no? Even, and the brain health. Ang brain po natin is 90% cholesterol. So, kung wala tayong cholesterol, imagine how we can work, how we can think, no? Normally, 75% of the cholesterol we have in the body is produced by the liver. And only 25% comes from external sources like our diet. Okay? But remember, ang general rule, di ba? Too much of everything is also bad. Too much of anything is also bad. No? So high cholesterol, sobrang taas naman po, is not also good. So I'd like to clarify some points later. Sabi ko nga, waxy substance siya. So yung mga nagluluto sa atin, no? Especially yung mga mantika, yung mga nanay natin dyan nagluluto. Di ba yung iba, ginagawa nila para makatipid? Ginagamit nila ulit yung mantika, no? So sa kawali. So nilalagay nila sa bote. Anong nanonotice nyo? Di ba nabubuo siya? So yung cholesterol na yon, especially the bad cholesterol, yan po yung nabubuo sa ating ugat. Picture number 1, yan po yung healthy cross-section ng healthy na ugat natin. Picture number 2, may beginning plaque. Plaque ang plaque is a combination of blood cholesterol and some cells also like macrophages. Studies have shown plaque buildup starts at the age 2 years old. So as early as 2 years old, meron na pong nagsisimulang plaque doon. So ang goal natin is wag paabutin siya sa number 3. Kung na-notice nyo, yung yellow doon, and look at the lumen, di ba? Konti ng konti, hanggang number 4. Ang liit na po ng ugat. So yan po yung tinatawag nating plaque build-up. Again, just to share with you, yung pong nasa vertical line, yan po yung risk sa pagkakaroon ng heart attack. At yung horizontal line, yan po yung risk, yan po yung cholesterol level. So the line is linear. Habang tumataas yung LDL cholesterol, ang tsansa ninyo na pagkakaroon ng sakit sa puso ay tumataas din po. What are the cholesterol? No? So sabi ko nga, ang ating pag-screen should begin at the age of 20 years old. At least every 5 years, magpapacheck po tayo ng cholesterol level natin or lipid profile. So lipid profile has 4. Total cholesterol, bad cholesterol, good cholesterol, LDL, HDL, and the triglyceride. These are the numbers that I want you to remember. Huwag niyo nang tandaan nyo sa HDL tsaka sa triglyceride. Ang tandaan nyo na lang po is the LDL cholesterol. So, the third number that I want you to memorize, to know, is the number for LDL cholesterol. The number should be less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. Yan po yung optimal. Medyo mabait ako dun sa mga bata-bata at wala pang sakit sa puso at wala pa ibang risk factors tulad ng diabetes. Ang cutoff ko yung 129. Okay? So I hope maliwanag yon. That's the third number. First, BP 120/80 less than, diabetes less than 100, fasting blood sugar, and LDL cholesterol less than 100 optimal. So medyo kadugtong siya, no? HDL is the good cholesterol, so we want it 60 or higher. Pero huwag niyo nang tandaan yon. Memorize nyo lang yung LDL. Triglyceride, minsan importante siya, especially sa mga diabetic, no? So ang cutoff natin dyan is 500, yung very high. What affects cholesterol level? Diet. Usually these types of food. So alam ko maraming tao dyan na magagalit sa akin. Okay? Your weight, okay, and your waist circumference will also affect your cholesterol level. Your lifestyle, if you're active or sedentary. Your sex and gender, your gender and your genes also can affect your cholesterol level. Most of the time, females have higher cholesterol levels. If you have disorders sa liver, sa thyroid o kidneys, tumataas din ang cholesterol natin. And those who take steroids, pwede rin pong tumaas ang cholesterol levels natin. Steroids are like yung mga hormones natin, no? Pills na ginagamit ng kababaihan. What are the bad effects? So, as mentioned, ang bad effect nito, it starts in your liver, di ba? Siya yung nagpo-produce. So, pag masyadong mataas ang cholesterol level, nagkakaroon ng fatty liver. Okay? And it is now a disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. At itong NAFLD, NAFLD, can lead to liver cirrhosis. Okay? Artery dumping ground, nababarahan yung ugat. Chest pain because nababarahan yung ugat sa puso. Heart attack. Numbness of the legs kasi pati yung ugat sa legs nababarahan din. In the brain, which can cause stroke. And also gallstones, pagkakaroon ng bato sa apdo. Ang cholesterol po ay hindi lahat masama. There's good and there's bad cholesterol. There are cholesterol that you can eat and there are cholesterol that you need to avoid. So there's good fat and bad fat. Okay. Good fat, an example dito are monounsaturated fatty acids or MUFA and polyunsaturated fatty acids or fats or PUFA. These are the good fats. I will tell you later saan natin makukuha nito. And bad fats are really the trans fats. Trans fatty acids are the really, really bad fat. Yung pinakita ko po kanina sa previous slide, yung may donuts, fried chicken na may breading, those are trans fats, no? And they are really, really bad fats. Sila po yung nagkukos talaga ng pagbabara. Saturated fats, no? Meron po siya natural occurring saturated fats, no? Sa meat, no? Pork, beef. It's not as good fat, but it's also needed by the body. So in short, kailangan pa rin natin siyang kainin. Okay? And egg, I think doon nagsimula yung article na yun na umiikot, hindi lamang sa GTA, but sa ibang division pa, especially sa medical affairs, no? Tingnan natin gaano karami ang pwede natin kainin, ika nga. Siguro, sa mga taong walang sakit sa puso o walang mga risk factors, you can eat as much saturated fats as you want. But again, sabi ko nga at age 2, nag-start na yung plaque natin. So, wag naman sagad-sagad din. No? Pero sa mga taong may sakit na sa puso, tulad dun sa article na umiikot, no? Sabi nila doon, pag may mga sakit na sa puso, syempre, kailangan i-cut down na natin yung pagkain ng mga saturated fats. In general, sa Pilipinas, ang saturated fats is allowed 10 to 15% of our total caloric requirement. So, kailangan. Okay? Hindi totally sinasabing wag kumain ng saturated fats. Kailangan po siya. Okay? Pero kaunting may limitation lang po. Trans fats, yun yung artificial talaga to eh. Artificial fats. They are trans fats na normally or naturally occurring sa meat. Pero yung mga trans fats sa donuts, sa cakes, sa pastries, okay? These are trans fats and these are really, really bad fats. Okay? I hope I was able to clarify that. So the good fat lowers the risk of heart disease and stroke, lowers bad cholesterol, prevent abnormal heart rhythms, lowers TG, lowers blood pressure, prevent hardening and narrowing of the arteries. While the bad fat, especially the trans fatty acids at saturated fats, pag sumobra po tayo, raises the LDL cholesterol. At mas malala, it creates inflammation in the body, which is linked to many metabolic disorders like heart disease, stroke, and insulin resistance. Now, napaka-importante, especially yung mga nag-grocery po. I don't like to say na mga nanay lamang po nag-grocery kasi ako kasama din po ako pag minsan pag nag-grocery, no? Kailangan matuto po tayo magbasa ng labels, no? So tingnan niyo yung mga partially hydrogenated oils. These are the bad fats. As much as possible, you have to be conscious about this. No, ano bang sources ng good fat? Ito na yon: olive oil, canola, peanut, sesame oil, avocados, olives, and nuts. Okay, that's the MUFA. While the PUFA, sunflower, sesame, flaxseed, walnuts, fatty fish, salmon, tuna, mackerel, okay, soybean and safflower oil, soy milk, and tofu. I believe yung galunggong na pagkamahal-mahal na rin ngayon, I think part siya ng mackerel yata if I'm not mistaken eh. So, these are sources of PUFA. Okay. While trans fatty acids, ang sources nito are the commercially baked pastries, cookies, donuts, muffins, cakes, pizza dough. Ito yung gusto-gusto natin kainin, yung mga nasa fast food. Snack foods, chips, crackers, yung mga microwave na popcorn, stick margarine, vegetable shortening, fried foods, French fries, sorry guys, chicken nugget. While saturated fat, as mentioned earlier, red meat, beef, lamb, pork, chicken skin, whole fat dairy products, butter, ice cream, and lard. So saturated fats are also important, pero limited amounts lang talaga. Okay? Yun yung sinasabi kong 10 to 15% of your total caloric requirement. Alright? So, I hope I was able to establish that hindi lahat ng fat, you cannot generalize it's bad. There are good fat and bad fat. Ang pinaka-bad fat lang is the trans fats. Saturated fat, pwede, pero limited amounts. Yun, sabi nga natin, saturated fat is no longer considered unhealthy. So, tama ba ito? What these studies highlight is that when cutting down on saturated fats in your diet, it's important to replace them with the right food. No? That means kailangan yung silang, let's say, if you decided to cut down on animal fats for vegetable oils, so you can replace it with vegetable oils. Pag butter, you can replace it with olive oil. No? So those are very important. Ang masama is isa-substitute mo yung saturated fats to refined carbohydrates, which includes the trans fatty acids. Like, instead of hindi ka kakain ng bacon, kakain ka ng cookies or pastry. In short, be careful. Ang pinaka-endpoint dun is the last bullet. Limiting your intake of saturated fat can help improve your health as long as you know how to take care or to replace it with good fat rather than refined sugar. In other words, don't go no fat, go good fat. So pipiliin natin ano yung tamang fat, okay, or fatty sources. So anyway, I've shared the slides with Miss Donna and Miss Lovelyn. So you can go back. Ano ba yung sources ng good fats? Para yun ang dapat nating laging kinakain. For sure, may mga tanong dyan, what about omega-3 fatty acids? So omega-3 are type of PUFA or polyunsaturated fatty acids, and they are very special or beneficial to our health. So there are different types. EPA, DHA are the most common at pinakamadali siyang makuha from fish and algae. There's another one which comes from plants naman. Pero ang pinaka-importante kasi dito is the EPA and DHA. Pag kumain tayo ng ALA or alpha-lipoic acid, the body converts this to EPA and DHA. Yun nga lang, mas mababa siya at low rates. So napakaraming benepisyo po ng omega-3, no? So yun po yung importante. So these are the different sources. So usually fish is the best source for omega-3. Okay, for EPA, DHA, and for those with ALA are usually plant sources. So if you notice, kasama dyan yung egg, no? Small amounts of DHA. So importante pa rin yan. There's also mayonnaise. Okay? So, but again, no, you have to use it in moderation. All right. So I hope I was able to answer that issue, no? So perhaps meron kayong sinasabing ketogenic diet, no? These are fad diets, no? Meron pang importansya ito. So maraming klase siya ng ketogenic diet or low carbohydrate or very low carbohydrate diets. So there's moderate, low, there's ketogenic diet, or the low carbohydrate, very low carbohydrate, pero high fat content. So may benefit ba ito? So yes, no, the ketogenic diet has been with us for many years already, decades na nga ang binibilang. Ketogenic diet is being given as a treatment for to control a certain seizure type among pediatric patients, no? Pero in adults, meron din siyang benepisyo. So the upper left quadrant, potential benefits of low and very low carbohydrates or ketogenic diet, it lowers triglyceride, decreases use and or dose of type 2 medications natin. It facilitates weight loss, pero yun nga lamang less than 6 months. Napakahirap kasi niyang i-sustain, no? Possibly helps in appetite control, increases energy expenditure, and so on and so forth. But there are also concerns with ketogenic diet. Most often, sabi ko nga, napakahirap siyang i-maintain for longer term, more than 6 months. No? Kasi sabi ko kanina, carbohydrate is the best source of energy, followed by fats. Yun lang ang fats, ang energy niya, provides brief energies. Unlike carbohydrates, mabagal siyang tumaas ang energy pero nasusustain niya. Ang fats brief and then hindi niya masustain. So kaya mahirap siyang i-sustain siya for a long time. And sometimes it can increase LDL kasi mali ang ginagawa. I know there are restaurants serving ketogenic diet, pero yung siniserve nila are really bacon, no? Blocks of bacon. Pero di ba sabi ko, there are good fats. So dapat yung kasama mo sa ketogenic diet are good fats talaga and not really the trans fats or the a little of the saturated fats only. So you have to remember this. And when you do this, if in case na magki-ketogenic diet kayo, dapat close supervision by a clinician. Okay? That's very important. Ito yung effects niya. It decreases body weight, improves blood sugar, decreases triglyceride. Okay? So meron naman siyang improvement, no? But as I said, when you are going into this, make sure that you will be guided by the clinician. May isa pa, IF, intermittent fasting. So again, wala siyang malaking trial na ginawa, no? Para to determine if this can really help in cardiovascular outcomes or heart attack and stroke. Pero may mga maliit na pag-aaral siya that it reduces the risk for cardiovascular disease dahil may improvement sa weight, hypertension, dyslipidemia, and diabetes. So, if you were to ask me, I'd rather go for this IF intermittent fasting. But again, please be guided by your clinician, especially for the diabetic kasi may fasting siya, di ba? Yung mga diabetes baka tendency mag-hypoglycemia, bumaba yung sugar. So ayaw naman natin yun. I think that's the last slide for cholesterol. Okay, last, obesity. Last survey question. Miss Donna, Miss Loveline, can you please provide the link? So, pasensya na po. Sana po wala pong matatamaan sa aking lecture, walang magagalit sa akin. The last and fifth survey question, what is the normal waist circumference for males? Yung watting waistline. Is it A, less than 80 centimeters, B, less than 90, or C, less than 100 centimeters? Yeah, so mapapansin nyo, importante po yung waistline natin, no? That's one of the guide kung tayo ay sumusobra sa ating ideal body weight. 30 seconds have passed. Miss Donna, meron na ba tayong sumagot? At alin ang sagot nila?
24 na po yung sumagot and 14 answered less than 90 cm.
Okay,
Then
very
9
good.
yung nagsagot ng less than 80.
Okay. Sa mga kalalakihan, it's less than 90 centimeters ang ideal. No? I think this is 40 inches, males. So while for females, it's less than 80. I think this is 38 or 35 inches. Mahina ako sa math. So paki-compute na lang kung ilan yan in inches. So very good, very good. So again, this is what we follow for the obesity. Now, obesity kasi may napakaraming paraan para masukat. One is body mass index or BMI, and the other one is the waistline. Pero pinakamading tandaan yung waistline natin. So kaya nga, the last number that I want you to remember is your waist circumference. For women, ideal waist circumference should be less than 80 centimeters. And for males, it should be less than 90 centimeters. Okay? So I hope maliwanag po yun. Obesity is an independent risk factor sa pagkakaroon ng cardiovascular disease. It is associated with hypertension, heart failure, heart attack, and mortality. So visceral obesity o yung taba natin sa tiyan, I think yun yung pinaka-importanting parameter ng obesity. Kaya nga waistline yung binigay ko sa inyong numero na tatandaan. So marami rin pong ill effects. No? Sabi ko nga, stroke, heart attack, fatty liver, gallbladder disease, no? Meron ding mga problema, osteoarthritis, skin lesions or phlebitis, no? Venous stasis. So these are the different ill effects of obesity. Paano ba ginagamot ng obesity? Pinaka-importante, dietary measures, followed by physical activity, lifestyle modification, and meron namang gamot, pero seldom natin binibigay yan, doon lang sa mga morbid obese, and of course, surgery, no? Yung mga bariatric surgery. But again, hindi natin basta-basta ito ini-indicate. Pinaka-importante, main treatment is eating less and exercising more. Sorry po, pareho natin kailangan gawin siya. Hindi lang eating less, kundi pareho. Eating less and exercising more. I'll give you some tips, very quick, how to lose weight. If you need to lose weight, napaka-importante po na bagalan natin ang pagtanggal ng ating excess pounds. Look at fourth bullet. Sabi ko, lose no more than 1/2 pound to 2 pounds a week. Therefore, in a month's time, your maximum weight loss should be 8 pounds a month lang. Pag sobrang bilis po, magkakasakit din po tayo at manghihina po tayo. So, what is the goal? Second bullet is to achieve and maintain desirable body weight. So, look at the BMI, no? So, I will provide you in the chat later kung ano yung how to compute with the BMI. Now, if your BMI is 23, no? Dun sa slide ko kanina, sige, balik lang po ako ha. Yan, here. 23 is overweight, no? Ang normal BMI should be 18.5 to 22.9. It is, ang formula dyan is weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. Okay? Para makuha niyo yung BMI. So dapat ang normal is 18.5 to 22.9. No? So if you look at the tips to lose weight, ideally you should achieve an ideal BMI of 18.5 to 22.9. However, if your BMI is 23, make sure yung waistline nyo or waist circumference sa mga kalalakihan is less than 35 inches. 35 pala yun, sorry, hindi pala 40. 35 inches. At sa mga kababaihan, it should be less than 31 inches. This is for Filipinos. Okay? Begin with the goal of losing 10% of your current weight. So paano ba mag-lose ng weight? 1 pound isang pound is equal to 3,500 calories. So for you to lose weight in a week, you need to eat 500 calories less than your usual calories per day. For example, you're eating about 2,500 calories daily. Kailangan to may dietitian, may nutritionist na kailangan sumabay sa inyo. So therefore, para ma-achieve niyo yung 3,500 per week, 500 per week, no? Kasi 500 times 7, that's 3,500 calories. That will be equivalent to 1 pound. Di ba sabi ko? 1/2 pound to 2 pounds a week is the ideal. So kung maglo-lose kayo ng 500 calories a day, cumulative siya sa isang linggo is 3,500, then you can lose 1 pound per week. That's enough. How do you lose that? So, babawasan nyo nga yung total calorie requirement. Yun, unfortunately, you need to have a nutritionist or dietitian on board so that you would know paano nyo babawasan yung calories. The other way is to burn the 500 calories by exercising. Mind you, brisk walking lang for 20 to 30 minutes, that is already 300 calories na po yun. 200 to 300 calories. So imagine, brisk walking of 20 to 30 minutes is 300 calories. Ilang calories na lang ang babawasan nyo sa pagkain nyo? 200 na lang to make up for the 500 calories per day. Okay? So, huwag kayong mainis. Naku, 500 calories, ang dami kong babawasan sa pagkain. Hindi. Sabi ko nga, eat less, exercise more. So, para lang mabawasan natin yung ating calories in a day's time. So, I hope. Anyway, the slide is with Miss Donna and Miss Lovely. All right. So, those are the risk factors. Again, just to review, the numbers I want you to remember, a blood pressure is normal, is less than 120 over 80. Fasting blood sugar less than 100. LDL cholesterol less than 100. And a waistline of less than 90 centimeters for males and less than 80 centimeters for females. Okay, let's go to the management. Very quick lang po. TLC, therapeutic lifestyle change, no? Tinuon si Lola, at her age, kaya pa niyang vertical split ba tawag dyan? So, TLC implies a personal commitment to making healthy choices. Kaya nga kanina, sabi ko, congratulations, pambungad ko pa lang po kasi I think your mindset of attending this webinar is already a commitment for you to live a healthy lifestyle, no? So, ano ba yung lifestyle management? Kailangan lang gumalaw? Kailangan lang kumain ng tama? Kailangan tanggalin natin yung mga vices, especially smoking. Kailangan lang natin tanggalin o not tanggalin dahil hindi naman natin matatanggal yung stress, no? It's really how we manage stress, especially in the workplace or at home, no? And kailangan na natin ma-manage yung weight natin at kailangan ng screening, no? For 40 years old and above, I would suggest yearly screening. For 20 years old to 39 years old, kung wala kayong mga risk factors, every 5 years of screening is ideal. Okay? So, I hope you can remember this. So, ano po yung mga kailangan natin gawin? Sabi ko nga, galaw-galaw lang, no? Brisk walking is good already. Okay? So, ito yung pyramid na ating activity guide for Filipinos. So, again, I provided this slide and you can go back to this. So, basic principles, sabi ko nga, 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercises. Brisk walking, 15 to 20 minutes per mile. Now, yung third bullet, napaka-importante. Kasi overall, a minimum number of 10,000 steps a day is necessary. That is to retain your normal health, your normal current health status. So if you're overweight, at 10,000 po yung gagawin nyo, hindi po yung mababawasan yung weight nyo. Kasi 10,000 steps is to maintain your current state of health. That means for you to lose weight, you have to do more than 10,000. Eat a variety. Sabi ko nga, the more colorful your plate is, the better. So, hindi ko pinababawasan low carb, low fat. In fact, kumain tayo ng lahat ng ito. So, yun. So, kailangan natin. The picture on the right, that's the Pinggang Pinoy. Yung ating 8 inches or 10 inches na plate, hatiin natin sa 4. Madali ito, guys. Yung lower 1/4, that's your go food. That's your carbohydrate. So, ideally, 1 cup of rice per meal is ideal. So, the browner the source of carbohydrate, the better. Kasi yung refined rice, the white rice, although mas maganda pa rin yung brown. Okay, brown rice, brown bread, okay? The lower part, the lower part is the source of your glow. Lower quadrant, right quadrant, and the upper right quadrant is your fruits and vegetables. The more colorful, the better. At yung upper left quadrant, yun yung source of glow or your proteins. So ideally, it's fish, but as I said, you can still eat pork if you want lamb, pero wag naman sigurong madalas, no? At ang size, there's a size, no? It's yung deck of cards, yung baraha, ganun kakapal, ganun kalaki. Okay, matandaan niyo yun. So, madali lang, di ba? In fact, when you do this, you don't need a dietitian or nutritionist. Just follow this Pinggang Pinoy. Okay? Using tobacco, physically active, eat a heart-healthy diet, keep a healthy weight, okay? Keep your blood pressure healthy, your total cholesterol, especially your LDL cholesterol, blood sugar. I think this is my last slide. So, sabi ko nga, pag dinedma mo yung mga numbers na yon, dead ka. Maisingit lang. Gusto ko gumaling kayo. Okay? So, I hope, sabi nga kanina ni Ma'am Susan, alagaan natin ang pamilya natin. Whatever we learned this morning, please share it with your family. Kasi gusto ko gumaling kayo. Okay? Kung magtanong, kung meron po kayong questions, so maraming salamat po.
Salamat, Doc G. Team, you can now start placing your questions for the Q&A sa chat box natin.
Hello, Doc G.
Yes, my
Hello.
mentor, Doc Percy.
Doc G, ang pagkakaalam ko, ikaw ang mentor ko eh. Not the other way around.
Sige po.
Anyway, thank you very much. It was a very, very good lecture. It was laymanized in such a degree na I think intindi na ng mga GTA members ang mga kanilang gagawin para maiwasan ang mga cardiovascular diseases. Now, from clinical experience kasi, lahat ito ay sinasabi natin sa pasyente. But in many cases, hindi naman sa lahat, ang sinasabi ng pasyente, Doktor, madali hong sabihin yung advice niyo, pero pag gagawin ho, medyo mahirap na. And mahirap ang hindi kumain ng masarap, lalo na kung available. Of course, we have good examples in Unilab. Alam na natin kung sino-sino sila. So, but anyway, the recommendation still stands, For us to avoid cardiovascular diseases, kailangan talaga nating mag-exercise, kumain ng tama, at panatilihing yung timbang natin ay nasa magandang level. Okay. Now, yung sa waistline, so far, tingin ko naman marami pa naman sa atin. Ang waistline, sa mga kalalakihan, 35, So sabi mo nga,
be honest, ako hindi
way. Lumabas ka na pa. Anyway, sa akin mukhang pasok pa. Okay. Anyway, siguro ito yung isa sa pinakamadaling gauge na magagamit ng mga GTA members. If napansin nyo na ang inyong waistline, medyo nasa 40 na sa mga kalalakihan, 40 pataas, baka kailangan tayo magpapacheck up na rin, and just be conscious on our activities and the things we eat. Ang gusto ko lang ma-emphasize, yung last is yung tobacco smoking. I'm glad na dinention mo yung paninigarilyo, And just to share with our audience now, ang sigarilyo ay hindi lamang puso at utak ang tinatamaan. Ito ay pwedeng tumama sa baga at sa ibang parte ng ating katawan. So doon sa mga nakikinig sa atin na nag-smoke pa until now, I know there are, sana ay makinig sila sa mga nasabi mo this morning, and they will be having a better healthy lifestyle. Thank you very much, Doc G.
Salamat, Doc Percy. Pero
Thank you, Doc Percy.
Kailangan talaga natin yung behavioral modification. Importante yun tanggapin natin sa sarili natin na kailangan natin maging healthy. Otherwise, hindi talaga magiging compliant yung ating mga pasyente. Sorry, Miss Donna, go ahead.
Yes, Doc. Thank you, Doc Percy. Thank you, Doc G. Actually, totoo yung sabi ni Doc Percy. Sobrang nakaka-appreciate talaga itong kasi yung naibaba nyo po ng layman's term, dami ko nga pong notes action na lang yung kailangan. Tsaka
Yes,
yung 10,000 steps pala, pang-maintain pa lang yun. Hindi ako maabot. Ayun. So, actually, we have one question. Nabanggit niyo po kasi yung sa intermittent fasting kanina. So, the question of Sir J is, can it help po ba lower the sugar?
Yes, Jay, in fact, may mga pag-aaral na makakababa siya ng blood sugar. Yes. Sabi ko nga kanina, if between ketogenic or IF, I would prefer endorse to you IF.
Thanks, Doc G.
Miss Donna?
So, ito po, meron po tayong isang question kay Ma'am Lorena. Hi, Doc Gerard. Very good presentation. I'm part of the team managing safe birth. We are noticing an increase of high-risk pregnancies, specifically gestational diabetes, during the pandemic.
Yes.
Is this something that can be prevented?
Yes, it still can be prevented. No, I'm a witness to that. No, it's very important nga kasi sa monitoring, Miss Lori, no, sa monitoring ng ating mga buntis kasama din yung fasting blood sugar. So una, kailangan yung a very good history taking. Kung may family history sila, importante talaga na matitake natin yung blood sugar nila. At pag nag-take tayo ng fasting blood sugar at mataas na, yes, kailangan na natin silang i-advise ng lifestyle modification. Especially yung may mga family history. Your question, can it be prevented? It is preventable. Kasi hindi lamang sa nanay, may impact din po yun sa mga bata. Sa mga kanilang supling na ilalabas. Eventually, pwede rin sila maging diabetiko. May pag-aaral na gano'n. Or eventually, the mga nanay, pwede maging diabetiko na talaga overtly. So yes, it can be prevented. And it should be part of our screening.
Thank you, Doc G. Do we have any more questions? So mukhang okay na tayo, Doc G. Mukhang wala na silang tanong.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Doc Joey.
Joey, yes.
Sabi.
Sir Joey.
Intermittent fasting, anong oras? Ilang idea?
Okay.
From what time to what time?
Okay. Maraming klase kasi ng intermittent fasting, Joey. So, wait hindi ko na lang pinakita yung slide na yon. Pero 8-6 is the ideal. Wait lang if I can show that slide. Hindi ko na pala pinakita. 8-6, meaning, in fact, may tatlong models. Days of fasting, which is 3 days fasted, 2 days eating, tapos merong 2 days fasting. Meron naman baliktad. No, pero ang hirap ng gawin. Ideal is 16-8. 16 hours fasting, 8 hours eating. So yung gagamitin niyo yung overnight, yung pagtulog nyo as part of the 16 hours. So that means hapon hanggang morning you should be fasting. Then pagdating ng 8 a.m., no? Pwede na kayong kumain for 8 hours, then fasted ulit kayo. So I think that's the best option at mas madaling gawin yon.
Thanks, Doc. Salamat.
Mukhang wala na po tayong questions. So thank you, Doc G ulit.
Salamat,
So
Ms.
that
Donna.
salamat. Sobrang salamat po sa inyo. So that was another enriching learning session for all of us. We would like to thank everyone for taking time and attending our webinar today. On behalf of Sir Joey, the GTA Academy, and Unilab Corporate IT, we wish you a nice day. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, Donna. Thanks, Doc G.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Doc G.
Thank you, Doc G.
Maraming salamat.
Bye-bye.
Pwede pang maulit.
Thank you po.